Hey everybody, I hope you're enjoying your Enactus World Cup 2020 experience. I've had the incredible opportunity to be part of this network for more than 25 years. First as a student, then as a member of the World Headquarters team, and now as an alumnus and an individual donor. Throughout my years, one of the things I've truly enjoyed is having the opportunity to hear about alumni stories, to learn how individuals are taking what they learned through their Enactus experience at university and going on to implement those experiences in their chosen career path while they continue to give back and make a difference in the world. I've had the opportunity recently to virtually sit down with a number of Enactus alumni and record their stories, and I'm excited to be able to share some of those stories with you here at Enactus World Cup. Before we start watching the interviews though, I want to take just a minute to say thank you and to issue a challenge. My thanks is first to Enactus students. You are creating truly innovative, new, and exciting ways to continue making a difference in the world. Even in the face of a global pandemic and a complete upset to all that you knew as a university experience, you continue to go out there and make a difference in the world. You're truly impressive, and we thank you for everything that you're doing. I also want to thank Enactus faculty members. You are honestly the unsung heroes of our network. There's no way that we can thank you for all that you do to help mentor and develop next-gen leaders. Thank you so much. I want to thank the Enactus staff as well. These have been incredibly challenging times over the past year, and you have risen to the occasion time and time again to find new and creative ways to keep things going. Many of you have made incredible personal sacrifices, and they have not gone unnoticed. Thank you so much for all that you do to continue piloting this ship that we call Enactus, so all of us can enjoy that sailing experience. I want to thank our personal and individual donors as well, both at the country and corporate level, for your continued support. We are experiencing the type of business climate that we've never seen before in our lifetime. And many times, investments in social causes are one of the things that have to get cut just to make the bottom line. Thank you so much to all of you that have found creative ways to continue giving to Enactus. We want to see the organization continue for generations to come, and you're an important part of making that possible. Finally, I want to thank my fellow Enactus alumni members. Thank you for your continued involvement and engagement in the organization. And I want to issue you a unique challenge. We number in the hundreds of thousands, and we have a unique perspective of how much of a difference Enactus has made in our lives and in our success in all that we have chosen to do in life. Now is the time for us to rise to the occasion to give back to Enactus and find opportunities for us to help make sure that Enactus continues for years and years and generations to come. I encourage you to look inside yourself, follow your heart, and figure out ways that you can give back to Enactus in the same way that the Enactus experience gave to us. Thanks so much to all of you. And now, let's experience some of those incredible Enactus alumni stories and see how some of these great individuals are continuing to use their Enactus skills to make a difference in the world today. Thank you so much and enjoy your Enactus World Cup experience. Okay, hey everybody, I'm here with Zora Zori, an Enactus alumna. Zora, thanks for taking time to be with us today.
Thank you, happy to be here.
Hey, just easy questions to get started. Tell us where you participated in Enactus at and in which country.
Yes, I participated in Enactus at the University of North Florida in Jacksonville, Florida, in the United States.
Nice. In full disclosure to everybody that's watching, we've known each other for many, many years, so we'll try not to throw any personal questions in there or inside secrets as we go through the interview. But we'll keep it simple. So, when you think about team dynamics and how Enactus prepares people for team dynamics, when you look back on that experience, How do you think you learned about dynamics of working in a team, and how is that applying to you today?
Yeah, I think probably two things for me stand out. One of them is when I joined Enactus, I joined a group of people that I didn't know at my university. So what we discovered about each other throughout the process was that we had very complementary skills. Our personalities didn't always 100% align, but that wasn't necessarily a bad thing. It's what I learned about team dynamics is the importance of complementary skill sets and personalities in order to really shape your team as a whole to be well-rounded and effective. And then the other quick thing is having fun and bringing your full self to the team environment was something that I learned and I've carried in my professional career. So if you're not having fun doing something that you love, then your love for it is something that's not sustainable.
Good advice. When you look back on your Enactus experience, is there a particular moment or memory that is especially poignant for you when you think back on that experience?
Yes, there's probably a lot of good experiences. I think my most profound experience was after attending my first regional competition. So in the United States, there's regional competitions and then the national one. I really got a sense of what a powerful network the Enactus organization provided, not just the students, but also the faculty and also the funders and sponsors of the organization. I left my first ever regional competition with invitations to at least 3 different companies for interviews. And as someone who was excited on the last leg of her university journey to get her career started, I was thrilled that I could attend one event and leave one day with, essentially invitations to travel throughout the country of the United States for interviews. And so my aha moment came after returning to Florida, to my home, after my last interview and telling myself that all of these jobs sounded really great, but I didn't want any of them. I actually wanted to work for Enactus so that I could provide these kinds of opportunities for other students who were in my position.
Nice. And that was a fun journey for sure for both of us. Yeah. Where is your career journey taking you to today? Can you tell us a little bit about what you're doing now?
Sure. Well, I've done a lot of fun things. After having worked for Enactus for almost 10 years, I've done some consulting projects with the retired players from the National Basketball Association. I've also worked in a couple of other places. And today, for the last 7 years, I've been working for an organization called Candid. I'm their vice president of networks, and I provide leadership for our organization's global strategy. I also directly oversee our learning programs. We have an online librarian program, support services, as well as partnerships with over 500 funders, associations, affinity groups, multilateral agencies, community foundations, libraries, and other networks across the globe.
Nice. When you think about the Enactus principles, collaboration, passion, innovation, when you think about those things, how are those things that you gained while you were in Enactus impacting your business knowledge today?
Well, I think passion is the foundation of who I am as a person. Probably most of my life, I knew that about myself. Having gone through the Enactus journey, it was something that emerged as one of my own most prized attributes. So I think passion has to be a foundation, and not just personally, but also professionally. And then with regards to some of the other elements you suggested, values like just giving your 110% in everything you do is also incredibly important for me. Innovation is important. I think trusting the journey and trusting the process based on where you are, regardless of where you see your final destination, I think trusting the journey is important. And lastly, I would say that there's an element of business in every field, every sector, every role. So one of my primary takeaways from Enactus was that You can always bring the business into the work that you do. And this is coming from someone that works for a nonprofit organization.
What, just from an advice perspective for Enactus students, can you share with us maybe what the greatest challenge is that you faced in business and how you overcame that challenge?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I would say maybe a couple of things. There's been a few times in my career where I've either been a very active participant or a leader in redefining the business models and the services available through the organizations that I worked with. So in a way, reinventing yourself is something that I've had to deal with. So it's been a challenge, but it's also something that has helped me grow. And then the other challenge for me in my career was a challenge I created for myself, actually. I felt that I grew too fast, too soon in my career. And there was a time where I wanted to test myself and see if my growth professionally was pure luck or if it was actually talent. So I pushed myself to take on different journeys earlier in my younger years in my career to test that notion of whether it was talent or if it was luck. It was talent.
It was definitely talent.
Thank you.
You know, thinking about reinventing ourselves, this is certainly a really unique time that we're all living in with the global pandemic. How has the COVID situation impacted you and your business, and how has it caused you to have to rethink maybe the way that you were doing business or the way that you looked at life?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So this is certainly, I think, something that's top of everyone's mind. I alluded to updating your business model. So something that I've been working on at Candid with my peers and with my colleagues is what do we do not just to stay relevant in the environment of COVID, but what do we do to maintain our position of leadership? And so our offerings for the social sector have evolved where we are providing real-time data and information on how philanthropy is supporting solutions for COVID. So that's a way that we've kind of not reinvented, but provided real-time solutions. And then just overall thinking about how do we diversify our revenue streams and business modeling at Candid. And a little bit also, I think, I talked about my foundation being passion. I think both on a personal and professional level, this is a time for me to reflect on, am I in the right place, doing the right thing? And the answer to that continues to be yes. So my drive and motivation, a lot of which was fueled through my experience at Enactus, reminds me that COVID is here, but hopefully it's not something that's here for the long haul. And also on a personal level, as someone that, was a refugee to the United States, I was born in Afghanistan. My family migrated, had a really interesting journey from Afghanistan, walking 12 days to escape the country and somehow being able to make our way to the United States. This feeling of being displaced or disconnected or not feeling at home from time to time comes up when I think about the umbrella of COVID, because anyone out there who's watching this video, in many ways, I think of what we're all dealing with as a sense of disconnect and displacement. And I think it's a thought that can take away our energies and spin it for the negative. But I always look back and say, hey, if I can walk 12 days from one country to another, I think I can deal with COVID. So all good.
Nice. Yeah, it would take us a whole nother interview to hear that entire life journey that you've been on. But it is interesting. I was thinking about it the other day in terms of, especially for Enactus students who had this entire mindset of what their university journey was going to look like, to have that completely abruptly change in just a flash, and their whole world be different than what they'd expected it to be. It's a pretty jarring experience, I think, for anyone. You definitely have a really unique viewpoint of having been through that kind of experience in life. But as you think about, as we wrap things up a little bit, as you think about maybe some personal advice that you could give to Enactus next gen leaders, what might be one or two nuggets of advice that you'd pass along?
One is just a one-word piece of advice, and that is to experiment. I feel like when we are at a stage where many of you might be in the audience, we put this undue pressure on ourselves that we have to have everything figured out in terms of our career. And you very much probably hear it from people closest to you, your elders, your family, your friends, that you don't have to have it all figured out. And I want you to also hear it from me. You don't have to figure it out. If you're getting your career started, go out and experiment, try different things, test your passions, challenge yourself in new ways, experiment, until you land in a place where both your mind and your heart are aligned, and you know this is the place that feels home in terms of your professional career. So I think that's incredibly important. And then along with that, just work hard and trust the process. Just trust the process and work hard and let the journey unfold for you, because oftentimes you will land in places much different than what you had envisioned as your final destination, and oftentimes in a much better place than your imagination.
Thanks, Zora. That is incredibly excellent advice. Hey, I'd love to be able to give you a virtual hug, and want to thank you so much for taking a few minutes to visit with us. This has been a little sit down with Zora Zori, the Vice President of Networks for Candid and a proud SIFE alumna. Zora, thanks so much for taking time to be with us today.
Thank you so much, Jared. Bye.
Yeah, talk soon. Okay. Hi, everyone. This is Jared Boyd, and I'm here with Lou Zhang, and a SIFE alumna. And we're excited to be able to visit with you today, Lou. Thanks for making the time.
Yeah, thank you for having this interview with me.
What school did you participate in Enactus at, and in what country?
I participated in Enactus. At that time, we still use the older brand, SIFE Student Free Enterprise, back in, I think, 2006, 2007, when I was a college freshman at Tianjin University in China.
Fantastic. And when you think back to those days, what do you think that you learned through that experience and about team dynamics that are helping you in your business today?
I would say for now, I'm in this tech innovation industry, no matter as a former entrepreneur. Before that was even in academia, and now doing the tech investment. One thing important is to really find out what is critical for innovation, which is diversity. I would say that's one thing I really learned from Enactus. No matter from the team we have in my college, later when I went to the national campaign and in the international World Cup, that's when I saw that people with different perspective, with different background, was able to really working on amazing creative initiative, which is definitely a mind-opening experience for me. And another thing is, really how to be a leader in the team, especially, as an Enactus team member. We're more like a nonprofit social impact project we're driving, but how to be an effective leader and be able to gather the right people to work on the same vision. That's important, especially now, although I'm working on more like a financial investment and also tech-enabled startup companies, but having the right team put together, become the leader who really drive the vision is still important.
Absolutely. When you look back on your time in Enactus, is there a particular Enactus moment or experience that was the most impactful or memorable for you?
I would say lots of experiences are very impactful and memorable. from my previous experience. I would say the first time I started working on the initiative powered by the Enactus team, that's when I started to learn about how to really leverage our different resources to drive social impact. And meanwhile, later, I become the program manager for my region, and also later, be more active participating into the World Cup and also national campaign. When I have more engagement with all these sponsors, the Fortune 500 leaders, I was able to find out, there's lots of innovation could be done in a way that to drive great social impact, but meanwhile create a fortune for the industry. So I'm a true believer that when we try to do social impact, no matter investment or innovation, that doesn't mean you need to sacrifice financial return. And these two things could run in parallel. And meanwhile, we really could change the world in a better place by creating fortune. But eventually, the most important thing is to change the world.
Fantastic. So as you fast forward to today, what's your current role that you're involved in?
Currently, I'm the founder and the managing partner of Fusion Fund. It's a Silicon Valley-based VC firm focused on earlier stage industry tech, enterprise tech, and healthcare tech investment. So far, I invested over 60 tech and healthcare tech-enabled startup company across the United States. And some of them already go through early growth and late stage. Some are also famous. Probably you heard about like SpaceX, Mission Bell, or Mojo Vision. Some companies are more related to the commercialization industry application, but also I have few companies that are more frontier tech company. And before I started Fusion Fund 5 years ago, as I mentioned, I was a tech entrepreneur. When I was the first year I came to United States and 21 years old at Stanford as a material science background engineering school, graduate school student, I was able to start my own medical device company with the support of my advisor and Stanford, and then continue the journey and did the first transition from academia and researcher to an entrepreneur. And after I sold my medical device company to a public company, to Boston Scientific, that's when I started to do the second transition, transit from an entrepreneur to an investor. But along my way, the vision is the same. I'm kind of nerdy and have huge passion about technology innovation. I also have strong belief of the power of the technology innovation. So no matter as a former entrepreneur or not as an investor, just using different tools, no matter tech itself, our venture capital, the capital itself, to accelerating the next generation technology to drive the bigger impact. That's the reason you can see from my sector focus, industry tech, enterprise tech. That's where we can leverage new tech to drive the digital transformation, which gonna eventually drive the fourth industry revolution. That's the main topic we always discuss in Davos conference, where I serve as a young global leader. And also healthcare tech, no doubt with this pandemic and COVID-19, this is very important innovation area. And not only with great financial and return and the big market opportunity, but also definitely going to help each individual live a much better, healthier life.
That's amazing, Lou. When you think about the business experiences that you've had, can you share with everybody maybe what one of your greatest challenges is that you faced and how you overcame that challenge?
I would say my professional career is always about challenge, but my personality is I like to prove people wrong when they underestimate me, and I never take no as an answer. So as I mentioned, when I was an initial founder, I was way too young, 2021, female in tech, healthcare, try to do a startup company. So I got lots of people say no to me. They directly say no without hearing what I'm working on, just decided by my labels, like even stereotype. When I started my VC firm 5 years ago, I was like 25 years old, still way too young for VC average age, which is 46. So definitely lots of people still kind of wondering, even founders saying that, oh, how old are you? Like, how come you could start your own fund? So I think there's definitely tons of challenge. But I think what I learned is I did not really spend time to try to argue. I try to do things, use the result to prove people wrong. And on the other side, I think the older I get, I also understand better about why people have stereotype, why we like to use label to recognize the word. I understand the reason. That's the reason, I also want to use the fact to give them an example why the stereotype might be wrong, and also better engage them does not mean they say no to me, won't be a friend with me. I make lots of friends with people who used to say no to me, was mean to me, but now they recognize the value and really share the vision, and then we could work together.
Well, so you just shared one really valuable thing, which is don't be afraid of someone saying no. But if you could think of maybe another recommendation that you'd share with Enactus next gen leaders, what's one or two things you might really encourage them to think about?
Yeah, the first thing definitely is what you said, never take no personally. There will be tons of people saying no to you, but don't take no as an answer, or never take it personally. It would help you better handle it and also really work harder to get it done. Another thing I would say really relate to what is the current situation. 2020 is a super challenging year. I always say that uncertainty is a new normal now. So sometimes I heard no matter people, my peers or even people with different experience or background talk with me saying that they're worried or cautious about what's going to happen. But my suggestion to them, and also, as you said, to the next generation young leader is the stronger confidence you had for the future, try to be more patient for what's going on right now. Because uncertainty gonna be the new normal. As long as the vision, you have the clear vision you want to work on, you are very sure about which type of person you want to be, what thing you want to achieve, and also impact you want to make to the world. There are different routes to achieve that goal. And just go with the uncertainty. When there's a big risk and challenge, there are always big opportunity came along.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Never let a crisis go to waste, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask you about how the pandemic is affecting your business, but you just did a great job of explaining it. Let's go to something maybe a little bit more fun. If you were to take yourself back to school, what's one or two subjects that you might study now that you would have never thought to study in your first time around in school?
I would say this subject is not a thing I thought about studying it before, but I did not do it. My research was all about the material science engineering and the financial management. But if I go back to school now, I would say the first choice for me is neuroscience. Wow. We have lots of exploration, lots of discussion about the computer science, but when we really look at the fundamental neural network, the current algorithms are not using the same neural network as our brain works to really deal with all this data. And our brain, the subconsciousness is so amazing. The amount of data it could handle, and also all this judgment and also all this neuron transmission is working there is crazy. So, but unfortunately, there's not too much of the progress happened for the past couple of years. And I invest lots of mental health related, healthcare company. We can see clear future, and also it's a very interesting subject to study. So that will be my top choice. If I could have a minor, I will choose aerospace. As I mentioned, I'm an investor of SpaceX. Definitely, when I was a little, probably you too, we have a dream of going to the universe, the Star Trek, just having all this adventure. But seems like now is the time with SpaceX successful launch and the Starlink build up this AWS in the universe, we probably have more opportunity to start this universe journey in the near future. So if I have a chance to choose a minor, I will choose aerospace as my second major.
Wow. Well, Lou, there are no small thoughts that you have. We're out of time, but I want to thank you for taking a few minutes to visit with us. You're an incredible Enactus alumna. I encourage all of the students and donors to Google you and look at all of your incredible awards that you've won. And we're really pleased to have you as part of the network. So thanks so much for taking a few minutes to visit with us today.
Yeah, thank you for the interview today.
Hi, everyone. This is Jared Boyd, and I'm here with SAIF alumna Nuha Siddiqui. Nuha, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Just an easy question to start off with. Can you tell us where you participated in Enactus at?
Yeah, at Enactus University of Toronto. So I was a part of that from 2014 to 2018.
Okay, fantastic. And when you think about your time in Enactus at University of Toronto. How do you feel like team dynamics that you learned there are applying to what you're doing today?
Yeah, I think, what I learned the most about team dynamics was the importance of diversity, and having a diverse team with a diverse skill set is truly what builds amazing projects and amazing products. And that's truly what I believe in now, even in my current role. So I'd say that was number one. And then, of course, having collaboration and being open to everyone's perspectives on things is also, a big part of what I've learned from Enactus.
Absolutely. Nice. When you, if you kind of time warp back to your school days, is there a particular moment, particular Enactus moment that you would say had a special memory or was especially impactful for you?
Yeah, I think, it may not have been an exact moment, but I think just the gradual realization that, it didn't matter how old I was or what I was studying in school. There was really no limit to what I wanted to pursue. And I think, Enactus gives students like me at that time a lot of trust and the accountability to go out there and build real life projects. And they weren't case studies, they weren't assignments, they were real life projects that they were allowing you to be able to fail and succeed in. And I think, that moment where I was able to receive support for running my own project, which was entirely different from what I was studying in school, was truly what gave me that courage to go out there and build something that was very different and very new, and not worry about anything related to my background or what I was studying. So I really think it probably was a gradual realization, but it was definitely a really impactful realization for me. And it changed the trajectory of my career. I think it helped me realize my purpose and my passion a lot earlier than anyone else would have. So that's something I really owe to Enactus.
Nice. And what is that role today? What are you doing in business today?
I'm the CEO and co-founder of EcoPackers Inc. We're a green tech startup that's developing 100% compostable single-use plastics.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. And is that something that you started working on while you were part of the Enactus program, or is it something you came to afterwards?
Yeah, so EcoPackers was a project that I started in my second year of university as an Enactus student. So it was completely related to Enactus. I think there's a complete direct correlation to what I'm doing now. So yeah, it was a project that I started.
Nice. Well, okay. So in 30 seconds, tell us the story of EcoPackers. What's the primary mission and objective of the business?
Sure. At EcoPackers, what we're doing is transforming agricultural byproducts, or anything you typically find in your farms, and we turn it into an alternative for traditional plastic inputs. So functionally, we're building a product for everyday manufacturers to be able to create single-use plastics in the same way that they do today, but use an entirely natural plant-powered alternative to develop that. So functionally, that's what we do, but going deeper into that, our mission is to truly help eliminate single-use plastics in our planet, but do it in a more sustainable and scalable way.
Wow, that is awesome. What do you think has been your greatest challenge in the process of that you faced so far in your career, and how did you overcome that challenge?
I think, building the company that I am from the ground up, and building a company in green tech and plastics, being a recent grad, has been very challenging on a lot of different levels. But I think the outside and inside noise that you typically face as a founder is definitely the biggest challenge for me, whether it's, noise around doubting myself or having others doubt you. I've had to learn to overlook that very quickly because, at the end of the day, it's just important to keep your head down and focus on building a really great product and not worrying about all that outside noise, because at the end of the day, that's all it really is.
Nice. Well said. How is how's the current pandemic affecting your business?
Well, it's definitely helped us build resilience as a team and as a company. It's also really just taught us the importance of having that passion drive you even in situations like this. And, with 12 other innovators on our team, it's really my job to help motivate everybody to have this just help us pursue our product even more, because as awful as everything is with the pandemic, single-use plastics, they're not going away and they're continuing to be used every day. And so if anything, it's helped us just try to kickstart our launch for our product and motivated us more to continue building it.
Nice. What is, as we wrap up, what is one recommendation that you'd like to share with Enactus Next Gen leaders?
I think definitely not letting your age, your background, or your degree define what you can and can't do is something that I would really, really want to, it's the key learning that I've had, and I'd love every next gen to consider that, because the world is changing. We see the world changing every day, and unfortunately the challenges that we're facing are also increasing. So it's really up to us and up to next gen leaders to keep all that outside noise outside and focus on building really great projects and really great products that'll help us get through challenging situations.
Perfect. That is excellent advice, Nua. This has been an interview with Nua Siddiqui from Enactus Alumna from Canada. You're also a nominee for this year's Global Alumni of the Year Award. So good luck in the voting on that award. And just want to say thank you for your time and being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Okay. Hey, everybody. I'm here with Dave Henderson, an Enactus alumni, and excited to be able to have a conversation with Dave today and bring that conversation to all of you. So, hey, Dave, you're calling in from Canada. Is that right?
That's correct. Toronto, Ontario, Canada.
Nice. And where did you participate in Enactus at?
I participated at the Ryerson University, which is a campus right downtown Toronto, here in Canada.
Oh, nice. Well, first thing I wanted to ask you about is kind of looking back on your time. So if you took yourself back to your time when you were in school and thought about ways that Enactus actually helped you prepare for the role that you'd have today, you probably weren't thinking about how that was happening. But if you retrospectively look back, what do you feel Enactus brought to you that you're able to use in your business today, whether that's team dynamics or other skills that you were able to acquire?
It's a good question. I have to go back a long ways now to think about that one. But interestingly, it's an easy answer for me. I was one of those students that took a gap year before I went to university, and during that time, I really discovered I wanted to be an entrepreneur. So I went back to university. I was very, very focused on being an entrepreneur, and I took a bunch of entrepreneurship courses and was doing quite well in the courses, but didn't have any jobs, or came to the summertime. I was sitting around with my friends. They all had jobs and connections and doing different things, and I really didn't, because I really focused on my studies. And I remember going to see Professor Schlanger. He was the professor of the entrepreneurship program at Ryerson, and talked to him about this issue. I said, well, I'm a bit challenged. He said, well, so David, being an entrepreneur is about doing things, taking action. You got to get out there, make connections. And then he said, I've got this wonderful thing, that's a new program, and this has happened to be the genesis of the Enactus program, getting started on campus. And he said, Dave, you should get involved in this. And so I did. And it was really that moment in getting involved in Enactus, and then taking on, being part of the startup and getting it going and all the different programs and learnings and failures. That was the genesis for me to be becoming an entrepreneur, and really learning that it is about getting out there and taking action. Whether you fail or succeed, and you're going to have both along the way, but it's how you learn and adapt. And I think that's the biggest takeaway I would take away from Enactus. It really was the start of my entrepreneurship career.
That's fantastic. And where has that led you to today? So what's your current role?
Yeah, so today I'm the managing partner of XPV Water Partners. We're a $500 million private equity firm, very focused on investing in water. And so if you think about, I've kind of taken my passion and all the things I learned about and Nactus and turned it into a business. And so I feel, similar to the students, or I feel like I'm back when I was a student, just trying to make a difference, every day. But now I get to do it and, make a business of it. So it's the best of all worlds.
What would you say is the greatest challenge that you've faced in your business career, and how did you overcome that challenge?
Yeah, I think, and I think it's probably the basis of any good entrepreneurial story, and that is, you got to be resilient. You can't give up. I mean, I got to tell you, there's been so many times along the way where I've either hit an obstacle or failed, where it would have been easy just to say, you know what, this water idea is just too hard, can't do it, or getting into and starting my own fund. It was just the things I didn't know when I started, and then the obstacles that you hit. If you don't have that resilience, and I think that's what's showing up today. I think in the world we live in today, obviously, this pandemic is a terrible issue, a terrible challenge. But at the same time, I think the people that are resilient, adaptive, persistent, and continuing to change and adapt, those are the ones who are going to win. And there's going to be some big winners that come out of this whole challenge as well. And so I think that is, it's kind of interesting. The thing that I've learned the most through my career in terms of challenges, I think is really helping today.
That's interesting, because going to the pandemic is where I was going to go next in questions. So what's been the greatest adjustment for you or learning that you've had during this certainly unique time of life?
Well, I'll take it back to a little bit to the last question. So when we first entered water, I took my investing experience from other areas and applied it to the water sector. And what we quickly learned is that was not a good idea, because the water sector is unique, it's regulated, it's a social issue, there's a whole bunch of other challenges around water and opportunities that, the way I did things the old way, investing in tech companies, that didn't apply. And it was through the process of learning that. So we had to build our own strategy platform, our own talent platform. We actually have an opportunity system that when we engage and invest in the company, that we work with them on. And these were all being adaptive to the challenges of early days in water not being all that successful. And so it was that experience that we've then continued on today, that now that we have these platforms in place at our companies, including XPV, so everything we do in our companies, we do at XPV. And I got to tell you, it's that having that system in place has allowed us to be very adaptable. A lot of our companies pivoted literally in days. We went from holding strategy sessions. Some of our companies turned their strategy sessions every 2 weeks. They were turning their strategies around and changing and adapting. So I think it was all of the hard work learning from the last 10 years and putting solutions in place for that's allowed us to at least, see our way through this challenge. And frankly, we've come out, so far, prospering versus, suffering.
Nice. What, as you look to the future and think about maybe providing some thoughts of advice, what's one or two recommendations that you'd like to share with current Enactus team members about what their future might hold and what they should focus on?
Listen, again, I got to say, being in a pandemic, of course, the consequences of that on human life and then the economy and all the rest is a terrible thing. So I don't want to make this up to be, obviously, what I'm about to say. But I got to say, I think for Enactus students, the future has never been brighter for you. And I'll tell you why. The thing that I think a big light is now shining on certain things around business. And I would probably use a few keywords. Sustainability is a big one. So every enterprise now, the whole aspect of sustainability, which is tied to being resilient, it's tied to being adaptable. These are the things that in the pandemic, certainly when it first hit, sort of exposed in a big way companies, big and small. And so if you think about what Enactus is doing, like we need innovations in the environment. We need innovation. We need social innovation. We need governance innovation. All of these things that Enactus has been reinforcing and building on over the years is now going to be front and center. So I think, for Enactus students, I would say, now is their time to shine. I think this is going to be an incredible run because it's not just going to be new companies. So there's going to be lots of opportunity to start businesses, new kind of businesses, social enterprises, but also even the biggest companies in the world are realizing that the how important it is to have this at your core. So I think it's going to be, an amazing time. And again, I don't want to bring it back to, obviously, I hate to think about that we had to go through a pandemic and then have the consequences of that to have this really hit home. But I think that's going to be one of the bright spots that comes out of this whole situation. So I think my advice to the students is go out there, take action, be resilient, be passionate, but take the skills that you're learning and innovations around, these key areas and go for it, because I think this is going to be an amazing time. Nice.
Let's begin to wrap up with kind of a fun question. If you were to go back to college right now, what's one subject that you would study that you never touched when you were at university originally?
That's a good question. Some of the obvious ones would be maybe more of the engineering or science, because obviously, a lot of today's opportunities and challenges are based on that. But, I've always thought about this, and I've been reading more and more of it, as I get older, and that's philosophy. So I think one of the things I would go back and study more is actually philosophy. And the reason for that is not to necessarily become a philosopher, but I think philosophy teaches you a way of thinking, a way of logical thinking. And I think it's, I think about the world we live in today and how you have to be much more adaptable in your thinking and how you look at and perceive things. So, and I think philosophy is a good foundation in that. So I'd probably go back and study philosophy. That would be my answer there. Become a philosopher, maybe a poet too. Who knows?
A philosopher and a poet. Hey, before we started the recording, you were talking about having this long stretch and you've been on a plane for the last time. As you look at the whole pandemic thing, is that the biggest change that you've had from a business perspective? And for those people that are struggling with connections during these times, is there any maybe personal advice or wisdom you might pass along to them?
Yeah, so so certainly it's been a big change to the way we do our business, because since our company's all over the world, we were always on planes, and I haven't been on a plane in 5 months. And I'd say it's really opened up our eyes, and we're making some pretty big changes to our business. And I guess, part of what we've done is obviously using tools like Zoom and all the rest of that to reach out. And by the way, not just to reach out to, business and, customers and colleagues and things like that, but also on a personal level. I've connected with more friends over the last 5 months. And again, just because everybody's on Zoom now, so it's perfectly, able to do that. But I've been thinking about, some of the real change to my business. If you had told me that, at the beginning of this year, we were having this and said, hey, Dave, you know what? I bet you're going to buy a company and sell a company and never put on a pair of pants. And I would have said, what? Really not? And I got to tell you, in the last 3 months, we have bought a company and sold a company, and I have not put on a pair of pants. And it's a very, you think about it, it's kind of a funny way of thinking about it, but that's how things have changed. We literally bought a company virtually, we sold a company virtually, and we had to adapt and change the way we were doing things that we used to do in person. How do we do it virtually? We figured out how to do virtual tours of manufacturing plants and things like that. So, but again, I look back at this and I sit there and go, wow, this is amazing, because we were able to achieve the outcomes that we set out to do at the beginning of the year. We did them differently, but I think we're doing it better. And because I think it's more healthy for all of the XBB team not to be on planes all the time and living in hotels. It's great. I can walk out of this door here and have lunch with my wife and my daughters. I've never been able to do that. But at the same time, I hadn't had to sacrifice anything around my business. So I think it's just a great example of, how in these challenging times, and by the way, if you go back in history, this is not unusual, right? Every time the world has a crisis or there's a challenge like this, there's winners and losers, and the winners are the ones that adapt and change and take advantage of it. And that's what we're trying to do. So, so I'd say, the biggest lesson is learned is, hey, maybe you can go to work without your pants on. That's pretty good.
Nice. Well, Dave, thank you so much. I appreciate you wearing pants today, or at least telling us otherwise. But give our best to your wife and daughters. And we want to thank you, everyone. This has been Dave Henderson, an Actus alumni, former recipient of the Alumni of the Year, Global Alumni of the Year Award, and managing partner at XPV Water Partners. Dave, thanks so much for spending a few minutes with us today.
Thanks, Jared. Be safe.
Hey, everybody, this is Jared Boyd, and I'm here with Ishita Ranjan from the UK. Ishita, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So just where did you participate in Enactus at?
So I was in the Enactus team at the University of Warwick, part of the Enactus UK program.
Nice. And as you think back on your Enactus time, is there anything in particular that you feel like you learned about through Enactus about team dynamics that are applying to what you're doing today?
Yeah, of course. So two things really, just how important communication is and how important collaboration is. And really one of the beautiful things about Enactus in my experience is that it gave me the opportunity to work with loads of people that I wouldn't have been able to do so otherwise. So learning to communicate and collaborate, but with lots and lots of different types of people was, a really big learning curve for me. Yeah,
absolutely. If we take a time warp back and you think about your time in Enactus, is there a particular moment that you can think of that was really specially memorable or impactful on who you are today?
Oh yeah, of course. There's loads and loads of them, but if I had to narrow it down, for me, it was the first Enactus World Cup I went into. And I remember seeing the presentations and standing in the room at the cultural fair and just being blown away by how many different people from different countries were all working together towards this common goal. And that for me was a really pivotal thing because it made me think I want to be a part of this. And this is it for me, this business doing good. And that's been my career ever since then. The other thing as well is that World Cup is the World Cup where I also got to know who is about to be my future husband. So there was lots of reasons, but yeah, that was really pivotal for me.
I would imagine that makes it quite pivotal. That's fantastic. So as you fast forward to today, what is your current career role in the business that you're involved with?
Yeah, so I am the director of a social enterprise called Spark & Co. We are an online learning platform and resource hub for people of colour in the UK who are marginalised and face different challenges. And as the director of the organisation, I look after everything from how we run, what we do, who we hire, who we work with, and how we raise funding. And to be perfectly honest, I learned all of those things doing Enactus. Pretty much everything that I do in my career now, I learned how to do when I was a student running an Enactus team.
Wow. And is the company that you're running today something that you started while you were in Enactus?
No, I started it when I was in Alumni. So actually, after I finished being an Enactus student, I worked for the Enactus program, and then I worked in the social enterprise space for many years. I also worked in social investment for quite some time. And actually, this company is something that I started really recently in response to the COVID-19 crisis.
Oh, that's awesome. So how is, you're in response to the pandemic, but how is the pandemic actually influencing
Yes, I
what
completely
you're
understand.
doing?
Oh, so basically, obviously, COVID-19 has brought to the forefront a lot of inequalities that already existed. And here in the UK, what's become really clear is that a lot of people from Black, Asian, or minority ethnic backgrounds who were in very frontline roles or already living in poverty, it had a really disproportionate effect on them. So everything that we do was about targeting those people who feel and are marginalized, and providing them with the information, the education, the skills to not just navigate through the COVID-19 crisis, but also be able to build careers and find jobs or go into entrepreneurship afterwards. So we completely set up in response to recognizing that there were communities in the UK that were affected worse than other communities.
What a great initiative. Well done.
Thank you. It's been very surreal.
I can only imagine, but that's so fantastic. You know, there's a line, and I mentioned it in another of these interviews that I was doing. Never let a crisis go to waste. And
yeah,
way to take hold of a challenge and turn it into an opportunity. That's really incredible. As you look to the future, what's maybe one recommendation that you'd like to share with Enactus Next Gen leaders?
Just hold on to every moment and squeeze everything that you can out of it, because this opportunity that you get in Enactus to build, to grow, to learn, that can change you, that can change your career. It can help you meet the love of your life. It can help you meet friends that you're going to hang on to forever. It can turn you into an incredible leader. It can one day help you raise money and set up a business. So just hang on to it and squeeze the most out of every single moment that you can, because you're never going to get an opportunity like that again.
Absolutely. Such great advice. Ishita, thank you so much for your time. This has been Ishita Ranjan from the United Kingdom, the director of Spark & Co., who is also a nominee this year for the Global Alumni of the Year Award. So good luck on that. And we truly thank you for your time this morning. And congratulations on your pending nuptials as well. Another Enactus, wedding in the making. So congratulations.
Thanks so much.